Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Side Projects. As always, am your host, Simon, and in this one, the ancient innovations that were well ahead of their time. We're looking at them, so let's just jump in. When we think about ancient civilizations that existed thousands of years ago, we imagine primitive people, a primitive way of life. People didn't have access to the kind of basic amenities that many of us benefit from today, such as electricity, obviously, machinery, as well as state-of-the-art plumbing. Even ancient theaters of war looked very different. Definitely no super weapons. Not even any guns. But in actuality, ancient civilizations were way more advanced than we like to think, to the extent that we even fail to appreciate the radical innovations they managed to come up with before such things became the standard. You can't help but admire these achievements when taking into account the periods they appeared in and the limits of technology at the time. From thousands of years ago, in the video today, 6 ancient innovations that were well ahead of their time. Today, sleep experts estimate that around 85% of people use an alarm clock to wake up in the morning, so the chances are that you probably have an alarm on your mobile phone or an old-fashioned one that rouses you out of bed every day. Who on earth doesn't use their phone as an alarm? It's like, no, I've got one of those ones that rings the 2 bells. No one. According to experts, the earliest known alarm clock traces back to the 4th century BC in ancient Greece, and the man behind it happened to be one of the world's most well-known philosophers, Plato. Supposedly fed up with students frequently arriving late to the academy where he taught as a result of oversleeping, Plato made a few modifications to what was already an impressive invention of the ancient world, the water clock, in an attempt to keep his students from snoozing the day away. Water clocks measured time by changes in the height of water in a container, which funneled slowly out of a tiny hole at the bottom into another container below. What Plato did was add another set of containers to the bottom of a water clock so that once the water trickled down and filled up those containers, it would set off what's believed to have sounded like a whistling kettle, which is going to be a pretty startling way to get up. But here's what's amazing about it. Plato came up with the idea long before mass-produced alarm clocks came about in the 1870s. And yes, he did it all seemingly for the simple and somewhat egotistical reason that he felt his lectures were just too important to miss. But he's Plato, so they probably were. The human race has long grappled with natural disasters and, in an attempt to reduce their potentially devastating impact on communities, sought to learn more about them. Today, scientists use devices called seismographs to measure and record earthquakes. Moreover, we have the Richter scale to help make use of that data. These tools helped seismologists measure the largest one on record, an earthquake scoring a magnitude of 9.5 that occurred in southern Chile on May 22, 1960. For a comparison, the seismic energy resulting from that earthquake was 20,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. As a result of this tragic disaster, 2 million people were made homeless, another 3,000 suffered injuries, and approximately 1,655 people died. Long before the massive earthquake rocked southern Chile, from 206 to 220 AD, people were already experimenting with ways to detect earthquakes. Called the Golden Age of China, the Han Dynasty produced several remarkable inventions, such as ship rudders, wheelbarrows, high-quality writing paper, and remarkably, earthquake detection devices. Believed to be the first recorded seismoscope in history, the Hofeng Daidongyi could detect earthquakes hundreds of kilometers away. Shaped like a large urn, the device was about 2 meters in diameter and had 8 dragon heads circling the top of it. Below each dragon head were bronze figures fashioned to look like toads with wide-open mouths. Each dragon head contained a bronze ball in its mouth, so that when the device picked up an earthquake from far away, the dragon head facing the source of the epicenter would drop its ball into the toad's mouth below. As a result, the device told you whether an earthquake occurred and also the direction from which it originated. Apparently, the device had success early on when it indicated that an earthquake had occurred to the east. Sure enough, days later, a rider traveling from that region verified the device's findings were true. Plus, all functions aside, the device does look insanely cool and probably seconded as an eye-catching ancient piece of art and certainly a conversation starter at those ancient Chinese parties. These days, it's easy to take modern technology like automatic doors for granted, which slide open whenever you walk into a supermarket or a bank or your ready room. You don't even have to worry about walking into a glass door that fails to open, although the threat of injury does very much exist. After all, the US Consumer Product Safety Administration reports that more than 50,000 people suffer from automatic door and garage door injuries. I shouldn't laugh. 50,000 people walk into doors. I mean, or they get trapped inside them. Really? Watch out, folks. The point is, you probably haven't considered how long automatic doors have been around. You'd probably say something like, I don't know, around 100 years. However, automatic doors have existed for thousands of years, at least in a very crude form. And I mean, there's kind of just one. The man behind it, Heron of Alexandria, was a Greek mathematician and inventor from the 1st century AD, who, along with writing 13 books on various subjects, designed several mechanical devices such as vending machines, steam engines, and an automatic door opener, with the aim of giving temples a bit of a mystical feel. While today's automatic doors use sensors and electricity to operate, so did his. Not really. Heron of Alexandria's doors worked a little differently. Whenever an altar for burning was lit, the heat from the fire would funnel down through a tube into a vat of water underground. Once the vat of water heated, expansion would force the water through a separate tube which filled up a bucket with water. Attached to the bucket's handle was a rope, which looped through poles controlling the doors and had a weight attached to the other end. As the bucket filled up with water, the rope around the poles tightened, rotating the spindles to open the doors. And here's the really cool part. When the altar's fire went out, the water siphoned back into the vat, and the door shut again. Magic! Not magic. Technology. Ancient technology. Heron of Alexandria's doors may have depended on several moving pieces to function properly, but it did exist 2,000 years before two American engineers, Horace H. Raymond and Sheldon S. Roby, designed an optical device for opening doors in 1931, which would become the early versions of automatic doors that we're all familiar with today. It may not be glamorous, but this next ancient innovation tackled a problem that's been plaguing humans since the very beginning. When human waste isn't disposed of properly, people risk exposure to pathogens, which can cause all sorts of health problems. The Greeks must have recognized this problem early on, a problem that continues to still affect 2.6 billion people in the world today who still lack ideal sanitation methods, leading to more than 200 million tons of human waste going untreated every year. By the way, quick side note here, there's a documentary on Netflix called Inside Bill's Brain, and it talks a lot about the solution for this sort of unsanitary toilet situation. Great docuseries, worth a watch. Let's get back to it. While the Mesopotamians had early and rather primitive examples of toilets, which were essentially ceramic cylinders with 1 meter openings placed in pits about 4.5 meters deep, it was the Minoans living on the island of Crete who introduced the ingenious flushing method. Traced back to a palace in Knossos, the largest Bronze Age archaeological site on Crete, is what experts believe is the first evidence of a toilet that uses water to wash waste into a sewer system. The flushing toilet is described as having large earthenware pans that are hooked up to a water supply with terracotta pipes. Considering that the Greeks constructed the Palace of Knossos around 1700 BC, this forward-thinking approach to sanitation well preceded anything in Europe until about the 16th century. The ANTIKYTHERA mechanism, or what's been called the world's first computer, boasts an advanced level of technology that far surpasses anything else on this list. Coming out of ancient Greece, researchers claim that the ANTIKYTHERA mechanism was 1,000 years ahead of its time. And if the device's Metal Gear technology isn't enough to garner interest, the background surrounding its discovery could well make for a compelling adventure movie. The history behind it goes as follows. In 1900, 3 divers came across a shipwreck 150 feet below the surface of the Aegean Sea off the coast of the Greek island ANTIKYTHERA. Soon after its discovery, an expedition was launched to recover various artifacts from the shipwreck, including marble, pottery, glassware, jewelry, coins, and a mysterious wooden box. The expedition wasn't without its casualties, though, for in the summer of 1901, 1 diver lost his life and 2 others became paralyzed. Some experts believe the mechanism itself, which is about as large as a shoebox and originally made up of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, dates back at least to 70 BC. With a handle placed on the side of the box, users could turn the knob and operate the device, which experts claim could reveal the timing of eclipses and even chart the movement of celestial bodies such as the Moon. Upon its discovery, experts found that the mechanism was composed of 82 fragments, 4 of which contained gears. The largest gear is 14 centimeters in diameter and originally had 223 teeth. Perhaps the most shocking revelation of all, however, is that the mechanism itself went largely under the radar until 1951, when physicist and historian Derek de Sola Price started taking an interest in it. Compared to the jewelry and other artifacts recovered from the shipwreck, this small wooden box just got overlooked. In contrast to other innovations we've detailed in today's video, which are mostly everyday objects and scientific instruments, Greek fire served a much different purpose, as you can probably tell from the name. This was an incendiary weapon of warfare that's been compared to modern napalm, which first arrived much later in 1942. Developed by the Byzantine Empire and first used in 678 AD, Greek fire offered an edge in both land and sea battles, as it created a sticky fire that attached to everything, and it was really difficult to stop. Not even water could put out the fire. Serving as a technological advantage for the Byzantines and Constantinople, it remained a dominant weapon for more than 700 years. Now, you might think that experts today know everything there is to know about this ancient weapon, but the truth is there's still a lot of mystery surrounding Greek fire. The Byzantines didn't want their enemies to harness this power out of fear that it would be used against them, so the recipe was a closely guarded secret that was passed down from emperor to emperor. Experts don't know what went into producing Greek fire, but they suspect the chief ingredients were light petroleum or naphtha, which may have contained a combination of others such as sulfur, bitumen, lime, and cedar resin. So I really hope you found today's video interesting. I hope those ancient innovations were new and exciting to you. If you did, please do smash that thumbs up button below. If you've got a suggestion for a future side projects video, well, let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching.